5 young black men and 1 sharp-minded lawyer refused to stay quiet when their community was forced to fund something they could never use. These people weren't soldiers. They weren't politicians. They were citizens who decided enough was enough. So they came up with a plan so daring and so quiet that it rattled an entire system of segregation and cracked open a door that had been shut for generations. What exactly did they do? And how did their plan change the future for every black reader in America? In 1939, in a quiet corner of Alexandria, a library stood elegantly. At the time, Alexandria's public library was brand new. It had been built using public funds, meaning it was funded by all taxpayers, including taxes from black residents. But not everyone could walk through the doors. Why? Under Jim Crow laws, black Alexandrians were barred from using the library. In fact, there was no public library for any black man at all. They must pay the taxes but cannot benefit from it. It was grossly unfair. The black community kept enduring this wicked act until a young black attorney named Samuel Wilbert Tucker decided that enough was enough. Samuel was a very strategic lawyer who grew up 2 blocks away from the library. He had petitioned the library for years to provide equal access to everyone, but that didn't work. He didn't get loud or angry. He got thoughtful and came up with a brilliant plan. In March 1939, he tried to apply for a library card for a friend, retired Army Sergeant George Wilson. But that request was denied as usual because George was black. Samuel then sued the library on behalf of his friend with the claims that George's rights had been violated. Why did he think this would work? The Virginia Public Assemblages Act of 1926 required black and white people to be separated, but it didn't allow black people to be completely denied access. But did it work? No! Samuel then took it a step further and planned a quiet sit-in. He carefully selected 8 well-dressed black men between the ages of 18 and 22 and trained them on how to conduct themselves during this sit-in. He told them not to argue and not to resist. Just go in. Request for a library card. Pick a book. Sit down. Read. When the day for the sit-in came, only 5 men showed up. The parents of the other 3 were afraid it would turn violent and stop them from going. You would think this could have discouraged Samuel and the others. Instead, it gave them more courage. They went to the library as planned and requested a library card. Just as expected, their request was denied. Ignoring the denied request, they each walked to the shelves, collected books of their choice, took their seats at separate tables and began reading. They weren't talking. They weren't carrying signs. They just opened books. They made sure they didn't take any action that would justify a charge of disorderly conduct. This infuriated the librarian, Catherine A. Scoggins. How dare they? She quickly ran to the city hall to inform the city manager, who then called the police. Before the police arrived, Samuel the lawyer called reporters and photographers from both white and black media houses to capture this sit-in. He also invited over 300 people to witness what happens next. In the end, the police arrested the 5 black men and charged them with disorderly conduct, even though they were never disorderly. The story made it into newspapers, but not mainstream papers, just black publications across the country. Still, it was enough to catch everybody's attention. This wasn't just a protest, it was a challenge to an entire system, using simple books. Samuel followed the case up and defended them in court too. Then the rulings started coming in. On the matter of the 5 black men's disorderly behavior, the judge avoided giving a ruling because all witnesses' testimony showed the boys were well-mannered all through. But on the matter of George Wilson, who was denied access to the library, the judge decided that George did not sufficiently prove that he lived in Alexandria and encouraged him to apply again, as the library would be required to issue him a library card. At first it looked like a win, but that did not still happen. Instead, they started building a separate library for Black residents. It was called the Robert H. Robinson Library and was completed in 1940. Most of the books there were used books or cast-offs from the main Alexandria Library for the whites. Samuel also refused to apply for a library card at this segregated branch. He insisted that he should have equal access to the main library. It might seem as though Samuel and the 5 boys' silent protest failed, but that moment sparked something greater. Samuel later became a lawyer for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, arguing major civil rights cases in Virginia and at the U.S. Supreme Court. Despite Virginia's strong resistance to integration, Alexandria Library eventually opened to Black adults in 1959. And Black children were finally allowed in by 1962. Also, the charges against the 5 men remained on the record until 2019, when the city of Alexandria formally dropped them, 80 years after the sit-in. This quiet library protest remains one of the earliest examples of nonviolent direct action in the U.S. No signs, no marches, just ordinary citizens quietly insisting on equal rights, one book at a time.